you can't turn that brain off of like, oh, clients would like this. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I should go test out XYZ. And so I feel like my trips now too are so frenetic because I just feel like I have to do everything. I'm like, well, my clients might be interested in it, so I have to go check it out.
I guess I'll take this hot air balloon ride just for like to see.
Yeah. So I just feel like when I'm traveling now, it is crazy.
Did you know that you'd always be a founder, or was that something you were like, oh, I think I would be a good founder and a good CEO?
I don't think I ever truly considered it, honestly. I just kind of imagined that I would be on this like standard career trajectory. And so I don't think I ever stopped and thought like, oh, would I want to start my own thing? I've definitely always, just to be like totally honest, I've had a bit of an ego. So I think if somebody had asked me, I would have been like, okay, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
Even though I had zero knowledge or anything, just like, yeah, that sounds interesting. That sounds cool.
Welcome to Outside the Bell Curve, a podcast for people who just can't seem to color inside the lines. I'm Heather, and I talk to folks with cool jobs, wild stories, and a habit of choosing the unexpected. Today we have Jacey Jones. She is a powerhouse in the travel industry. She's created not one, but two companies, both in the travel space. One is TripSuite, which is a tech startup looking to innovate tech systems for travel advisors. And the other is her own luxury travel advisory company called Kamira Travel, specializing in under-the-radar places that some people might not think to travel to often. She's also on a mission to visit every country in the world, blending a mix of business savviness with an MBA from Wharton Business School and just a clear passion for destination travel and going everywhere she possibly can, putting that into all of her business ideas. We'll get into it about what it's like to pivot from Wall Street and Silicon Valley into entrepreneurship and why travel advisors are in demand more than ever, which honestly was quite shocking to me because I figured with social media and the internet, people had everything at their fingertips. So whether you're scheming to look where to go for your next big getaway or weekend destination, or just curious what it's like to build a business from the ground up outside a traditional path, or maybe you just want to know what it's like to go to Malta or Tunisia for the weekend, this episode with Jacey packs in a lot of tips and tricks for you to take on the road. So welcome. Welcome, Jacey.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So let's start with, how's your weekend? Did you go on any cool trips?
This weekend, no, I was recovering from the trip I did the previous weekend. So I was in Malta for a week for a travel conference. And then I swung by Tunisia for the weekend just for fun.
I love how you casually said, I swung by Tunisia. That's a big sentence.
Yes. Well, I knew I'd have the weekend. So I looked at where are their direct flights from Malta, someplace I hadn't been before.
Yeah.
Hour and a half to get to Tunisia. Hadn't been before. So I said, why not? Let's go.
Okay. And I saw that you recently posted that Malta is probably the most underrated place to travel in Europe.
I think so. Honestly, it is. I don't know. I just always have such a good time when I'm there. This is my second time. And I just think it's super underrated. It has so many different aspects. It has kind of some of the natural beauty, but also the coolest history with the Knights Templar. And there's World War II stuff. I don't know. I just feel like if more people went, I think they would be very pleasantly surprised by Malta.
It is on my list for this summer, so I will let you know.
Yes, keep me updated.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into you and your journey, because I should have mentioned this before. You were on a mission to visit every country in the world. So I guess what got you to this place? Because your background is in finance and in tech from Goldman Sachs to Tile, and now you're working in the travel realm. So how did we get to where we are today?
Yeah, it's a really weird story, actually, and definitely not intentional. I'd always been really passionate about travel. I think a lot of people are. It's not an unusual passion to have. And I was working in finance, eventually moved to tech. And I basically, what happened, taking a little bit of a step back, is I was at a tech startup. And we sold the startup to a larger company, a larger tech company. And I knew that I wanted to start my own company, but I wasn't sure in what industry or what I wanted to do. And actually, I got introduced to an investor who had looked at the space, specifically the travel agency space, and thought, okay, there's something really interesting here and there's an opportunity here. And I think you should go and take a look. And so I very much, it was not my idea to start off with, but I kind of took their directive. I went and did research. I started calling travel agency owners and just talking to them about their business. And so really fell into it. And it's just kind of been a whirlwind since then. I think it's very common for people once they go into the travel industry, it's very hard to leave because it is such a fun place to be.
Okay. So with that, you said you've always been passionate about travel. Were you always passionate about travel to this extent before working in the travel industry? or did this amplify it?
I'm actually not sure because I mean, my one of my goals is to go to every country in the world, and I've had that goal since I was in my 20s. I'm pretty sure, like from college, maybe even high school. It's been a long time, so I've always definitely been passionate about traveling. I just don't think I ever considered really a career in travel before.
Yeah. Okay. So after discovering what was missing within the travel agency space, obviously I'm assuming you're talking about TripSuite. So what can you tell us a little bit about TripSuite and like what problems you're solving in that realm?
Yeah, so TripSuite, we are a tech startup and we're the core operating system for the travel agency. So it's very much focused, it's actually focused a lot around the kind of the financial and operations kind of aspects of running a travel agency, of which there's a lot. And that's kind of where we play, but we also have CRM, so tools for advisors. Just so you know, this is kind of travel agents these days are called travel advisors. There's been a rebrand. So if you hear me say advisors, that's why. So for advisors, tools to help them communicate with their clients and be more efficient, just because we're in a period of time right now where travel advisors are really intensely in demand and they basically don't have enough time to meet all the demand that they have. And so efficiency is really important so that they can grow their businesses.
This is interesting to me because I operated under the assumption that I was always thinking like, "Oh, the travel agencies and travel advisors must be a dying industry." Just because we have not that there wasn't the internet before, but we have so much access to the internet, TikTok. Somebody told me that they go to Pinterest to like look up travel. So I was thinking, why on earth would somebody need a travel advisor? But you're saying it's the opposite. They're more in demand than ever.
Yes, and it's because they've really gone through an evolution. Like when you think back to the heyday of travel, at that time agents, what they were literally order takers. So if you wanted to buy a flight to New York, you would have to go into a travel agency office and they would have to book it for you. You cannot book direct. And so they were very much like they weren't adding a lot of value really. They were saying, "Okay, I'm going to execute this thing that you need. I'm going to take your order basically and execute on it." And that's very much not what travel agents are anymore, right? It's more about adding value and having like a service that people really like. And so there's kind of like two aspects where travel advisors are really popular. One is in corporate travel, just because there's a lot that goes into it. It's like, it's not just, hey, I need to get from here to there. There's company policies, and companies also have what's called a duty of care, which is like, hey, if, you know, your employee is in Peru and there's an earthquake, you need to get them out. Like you're responsible because they're on work with like, they're there for work for your company. And so that's super important. So they have to know where everybody is at all times. And there's just a lot that goes into corporate travel. So that's a big area where travel advisors play. And then in the kind of high end leisure space, so luxury travel. And I would say most high net worth, ultra high net worth people use travel advisors to plan their trips.
Okay, nice. So speaking of such, let's go into Kamira because that's what you do there. Way more than that. So tell us a little bit about Kamira.
Yeah, so Kamira is a luxury travel agency. We specialize in adventure travel and also just in less visited destinations. So, as part of kind of my personal journey of travel, I very much love and my favorite trips are to places that a lot of people haven't even heard of. And I find that that's the most rewarding and also just the most interesting trips that I go on. And I started thinking about like, how can I get more people? Because, I would go places and be like, this place is amazing. And people are like, why would you go there? And it's like, how do we bridge this gap, right? Not only because I want people to have incredible experiences, but also when you think about the economy of some of these destinations, there's so many countries that are beautiful and have incredible culture that would really benefit from tourism dollars. They don't have, they're not spending millions on ads. They haven't developed this full destination kind of experience. And so how can we drive more people to these destinations? And I think that's an area where one, we help people feel more comfortable going there because we're like, hey, we're gonna plan it all for you. You know, don't worry, we're gonna take care of all the details. You don't have to feel uncomfortable because you're like, ugh, I don't know, I've never been to this place before. I don't know how to plan a trip here. So that's a big part of it. But then also just acting as kind of, and for lack of a better word, an influencer in terms of showing people, hey, this destination's really cool. Let
Hmm.
us get you excited about this place.
Yeah. And from what I saw, you guys work with a lot of locals. Like that's a part of what you want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of taking a step back too in terms of how travel advisors work now is It's less about piecing together all the individual elements of your trip, and really my job actually is to source the best local operators,
Mm.
right? And then I say, "Hey, I have a client, this here, they don't like nuts and they love champagne and, they need to go to bed by X amount of time or else they're going to be super cranky." And I give them all of these requirements, right? And here's what they're excited about. Here are their interests. They love history, they hate hiking, all of that, and
Yeah.
then they can kinda take that and build an itinerary
Mhm.
on top of that, and so it's very much it's my job it's my job when I'm working with clients to understand them, understand their preferences, their must-haves, and have a good relationship with them, and then sourcing the right local operator, and then you're basically putting those 2 together actually, as opposed to me. I'm not on the ground, I haven't stayed in every single hotel in this country, but the local operator has. They've visited every single hotel and they can say, "Hey, we think this hotel is gonna be the best fit for these reasons."
Yeah. What a fun job to be the local operator at that level.
Yes. Yeah, I think, that's why it's also important that we work with locals, right? Because, like, they understand the country and they understand the culture, and also they're just really passionate about showing people that culture, and that's why they get into it in the first place. It's like, "Hey, I wanna make sure when people come that they have this incredible experience."
Yeah. Do you find now that you work in this space, it's hard to delineate for you traveling for pleasure and traveling for business?
Yes. It's it was so funny when I first became a travel advisor. I was about to go on a trip and I was affiliated and I still am affiliated with a larger agency who helps kind of provide specific rates and relationships and things like that. And so I have my own agency, but we're kind of affiliated with a larger agency. And the person at this agency, I had just kind of enrolled and was joining this agency. And I said I was going on this trip, and they said, "Enjoy the last trip, like the last vacation you're ever really gonna go on." And I thought it was, like, such a weird comment. Now I'm like, "Oh, I totally get it." Just because, yeah, it's like you can't turn that brain off of like, "Oh, clients would like this," and like, "I should go test out XYZ." And so I feel like my trips now too are so frenetic because I just feel like I have to do everything. Before I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not interested in that thing, so I'm not gonna go do it." But that's now I'm like, "Well, my clients might be interested in it, so I have to go check it
I
out."
guess I'll take this hot air balloon ride just for like to see.
Yeah, yeah. So I just feel like when I'm traveling now, it is crazy and it's dawn till dusk, like jam-packed and very little downtime just because I do feel like I need to experience as much as possible so I can really communicate that to clients.
So you're not that person. I always like remember growing up when you get to a hotel with your parents, and I know people talk about this. Like the first thing your parents would want to do is like take a nap. And I feel like I'm kind of coming into that time in my life where it's kind of like, just traveled. I want to take a nap.
Yeah.
But now you're just like, you get there and you're like grounds, boots on the ground.
Oh, no, I get there and then I have to take pictures and video of the room. So
Mm,
gotta take all
okay.
the content, put my stuff away, and then, yep, out
Okay.
to do stuff.
Okay. Well, I hope you carve in a little bit of fun on your next vacation.
Yes, and I do think I try to do as much as possible the first day or 2 days so that then I feel like, "Okay, I've, like, done the big things that I need to do, and I
Yeah.
can kinda chill."
So you stumbled into this space. Did you know when you were working at Goldman Sachs and working in tech and all of these things, or even before that, did you know that you'd always be a founder? Or was that something you were like, oh, I think I would be a good founder and a good CEO?
I don't think I ever truly considered it, honestly. I just kind of imagined that I would be on this, like, standard career trajectory, and so I don't think I ever stopped and thought, like, "Oh, would I wanna start my own thing?" I've definitely always, just to be, like, totally honest, I've had a bit of an ego, so I think if somebody had asked me, I would have been like, "Okay, I could probably do that." Even though I had 0 knowledge or anything, just like, "Yeah, that sounds interesting, that sounds cool." But it wasn't something I ever really thought about until I was at a tech startup. Then I was like, "Okay, I actually understand now what the different components, like, what it entails to start a company and what are the
Hmm.
different things that you have to do." And so I think with that knowledge, I just felt confident, like, "Hey, this is something I can do," because I've kinda seen it now as more of, like, an employee or team member.
Yeah. Um, what would you say is the standard career trajectory?
Well, I mean, I started off my career on Wall Street, and so that was very much like you're just at in the place where I worked, people, like, really didn't leave. So it was just you rise up the ranks in this company for the rest of your career,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And I think I just kind of assumed that that would be kind of the path, but I think the longer I stayed there, the more I was like, I can't see myself
Yeah.
doing that.
Like, did it feel stifling?
It didn't feel stifling just because I was progressing, so it felt like, okay, I'm doing the things I need to do. It was less about that and more about, um so I was in an area I was working on Wall Street, and I was in an area that was being kind of taken over by technology, actually. So it's basically something humans used to do that, like, more and more computers were doing and getting better at than humans, and this was basically stock picking. So I was in basically an area of the business where we pick stocks, and so humans doing research in Excel, like, they're basically saying, like, "We should buy this stock," and basically, the humans were able to compete less and less with the computers. The computers were getting better at it, and I kinda saw the writing on the wall and was like, "I don't think that this area is going to be a long-term path," and so if I was gonna stay at the bank, I was gonna have to move to a different area of the bank just because eventually this was all gonna be taken over by computers.
Has it been now? I mean, that was like probably 7 years ago.
It hasn't, but I think it's just been, like, bleeding money, and so it's just, like, a slow death. I think it's gonna be, like, a very, very long death, and so but I looked around in the bank and I was like, there's nothing else here that I wanna do either," and so I knew then I was ready to pivot and do something else with my career.
Oh, great. Awesome. So with that being in the position you are in this big, big world, there's not
Yeah.
many female women founders in the tech space. So how has that been? Like you mentioned, like going to a conference. Do you find that like when you go to these spaces, you're one of a few, or is it slowly equalizing?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things. It's weird actually, the travel industry is very much dominated by women, particularly travel advisors are predominantly women. So I definitely feel like there I'm very much the demographic.
Great.
And so like any sort of travel agency conferences, I feel very comfortable a representation issue there. That said, I've never felt marginalized. I definitely had for sure experiences when I was in finance, a little bit at Goldman, but also I had like the craziest college internship where it was like sexism was alive and real people. And so I definitely have like seen kind of both sides. And so I honestly have never felt like I didn't get an opportunity or, I'm sure there's maybe things that have happened where it's just you don't know because, you never heard about it. But I honestly feel like it's been very welcoming. I definitely feel like the tech community is welcoming of female founders.
Love that. So diving a little bit more into your entrepreneurial life, how is it running the two companies side by side? Do they coexist with one another, or how are you making that work? And kind of like, what is a day to day life like for you?
Yes. So it's definitely a challenge and it's for sure like sometimes I move one too much in one direction and not enough in the other or vice versa. And so in general, TripSuite is like my main 9 to 5, my weekly job. And so I very much spend probably 80-ish hours a week on TripSuite. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of I would say like Sunday to Friday is
Hmm.
TripSuite, and then Kamira is very much like evenings, Saturdays
Okay.
is where I spend time for Kamira.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely like it gets interspersed and woven in for sure. It's not like a perfect like this on this time of the day I switch to this other, but my main focus for sure is TripSuite.
Yeah. Because I guess there's a lot of people relying on you for Trip Suite to work because that's all their clients.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kamira is like my passion project, right? It's fun. It is like, and it's honestly such a good like tonal difference to TripSuite, if that makes sense. So it's like if I feel like I'm getting burnt out in TripSuite land, I can kind of like take a little break almost with Kamira. And it's like, okay, I'm doing flexing very different muscles. It's much more creative. Like my job with TripSuite now, I feel like, we have a team of 11. And so it's a lot of people management, it's a lot of client management. And so it's just like a different skill set versus Kamira now. Like I spend a lot of time on marketing and that's just very creative. And so it's just like a nice change of pace to kind of do something different, so I don't get too bored or burnt out on either side.
Yeah. And Kamira was born, you probably mentioned this. Kamira was born out of Trip Suite,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, 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 exactly. So starting TripSuite, I realized like, hey, I can't build the right software for travel agencies if I'm not doing this myself, right? Like I have to even though yes, people tell us I wish you would build X feature. Or can we move this button here? And obviously that primarily drives our roadmap. It's so helpful when I can just test something from start to finish. Like, okay, let me take a trip and go start to finish and see where the gaps are from my perspective too. And so it really came out of like, okay, I need to be living and breathing this every day in order to be good at this thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun little experiment.
Yes.
It sounds like that turns into an actual really good business.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just fun. So it's like it's easy, right? It's not
Yeah.
doesn't have to be hard work.
Do you have a favorite trip that you've curated? And then do you have a favorite trip that you've just gone on?
Yeah, they're actually gonna be one and the same because I just
Great.
did a really big trip for my family, and so that was just a really fun experience to do this big multi-gen trip. So my niece went on it, my brother, my parents, I had an uncle, like, it was a lot of various family members that came in and out over the span of about 2.5 weeks, and we went kind of all throughout Southeast Asia. And so that was really fun just because I spent in college, I studied abroad in Singapore and I backpacked all around Southeast Asia and I just have such good memories and loved that time. And so getting to kind of take my family back there and be like, this is where I went to school and do all that stuff. It was a fun walk down memory lane, but also just a really, I think, amazing time to be with family
Yeah.
in a way that like I don't know when we'll all be together again like that.
Yeah. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of such, I feel like you travel with your dad quite a bit
Yeah, yeah,
more than the
my
average person.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, my dad's just, like, down,
Right.
if that makes sense, and
Yeah.
so it was funny, I was actually going on a solo trip. I love to travel solo too, and I was going on a solo trip to Tanzania in November, and my dad was just like, "Can I come?" I was like, "Yeah, come along, that's
Yeah.
amazing." So, he's just a good sport and is, like, very flexible and easy. He's just like, "Yeah, I just wanna that sounds fun, let's go." So, just very spontaneous and fun and easy to travel with.
Yeah. So I guess like speaking of parents, so it sounds like there's very supportive of your entrepreneurial journey. Were they nervous at any points?
For sure nervous. I think that's normal to be like, "Ooh, I don't know, you're going off on doing this thing that's different, and there's not a predefined path," and all of those things, but they're actually entrepreneurs themselves, so it wasn't, they're just like, "Okay, if you wanna do this, do this." I think they definitely get it too because they've kind of been through that journey multiple times.
Do you feel like that's kind of what thrust you? Like, was that always in the back of your head thinking, oh, my parents are entrepreneurs? I can do it too?
For sure, and what's funny is my brother is too, so I
Oh,
think there's, like, something in the water for sure.
absolutely. I need to drink that water.
Yes. Oh, I guess not super surprising then. At the time, people were like, "That's so crazy," and all of a sudden I looked around, I'm like, "Wait, my parents are and my brother is, I guess this is
Yeah.
maybe always going to be the path, I just didn't know it."
Yeah. It could be like, so I guess like as a parent, you'd be like, oh, please don't do this, but also like do this. It's like they see the good and the bad in it all. Do they get nervous about anywhere that you travel to? Or are they kind of like, ooh, check that place out a little bit more? Like, do you scare your parents? Is what I'm asking.
I think less so now, for sure when I was, like, backpacking in my 20s, I
Yeah.
think it was like, "You're going where? What? Who are you going with?" Now they're just like, "Alright, it's just another
You're already
another
doing
trip."
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what are we going to tell you?
So they're yes, I think they're immune at this point. But luckily they're pretty good sports too, and they're not super worriers. I definitely have like friends with parents whose parents are like really intense about like very straightforward destinations. Of like they're definitely not like that.
Yeah. My parents are like, even at this time, like, oh, who you're going to be with? Oh, what's their phone number? What location? And then I'll think, I was just like now, if I go to New York, they're like, okay, what's the name of the friend you're staying with? What's their phone number? And then I'll
Okay.
remind them, I was just in Australia for a full year. I didn't tell you anything and you got on fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're close enough. They're like, okay, let me just worry a little bit.
So my mom's thing is she doesn't well, I mean, she would love all that stuff, but she doesn't want to ask. And so because when I was, like, in high school or whatever, when we set up my bank accounts, my parents can, like, still access my bank
Oh,
accounts,
mine too.
and so they just log in and see if I'm spending money, and then
Oh,
that's how they know. Like, "Oh, okay, her credit card, she was out to eat, alright, she's fine."
I was not expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's the
okay.
proof of life. Proof of life is, like, our normal purchases going on the credit card.
I mean, it's actually pretty clever. And I do think it's good that somebody has access to that stuff. Like, I definitely have that, especially if I'm abroad and need someone to, like, deposit a check that I can't, figure out how to do it there.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and it's also like, if heaven forbid something whatever happens, like, well, she had dinner last night at, this restaurant,
Yeah.
like, and this hotel hit the bill. It's like, all right,
You need a
here's
paper
yeah,
trail.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
literally is a paper trail. It's just your bank statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just share I'm always like, "You know what? April, my sister has my location." So,
Mm.
it's like my mom's never gonna have that, but my sister has
Yeah.
it. Do you share your location with anybody?
No, I totally with my parents though. They're cool. So I
That's
probably
nice.
should. I think that would probably make them feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they're kind of like, "Where is this random place? We can't figure it out." And then they're just worrying for a few hours.
Yeah. No, no, no. They're I think if I'm where they think I should be, then it's like, all right,
All
we're
right,
we're good.
cool. Awesome. Okay, so with starting your companies and where you are now, were there any points, I guess, like looking back, are there things that you would like redo, start from scratch? Like, what's that reflection like? Which I guess it's still really early on, but what is that like?
Yeah, I think it's hard. There's for sure. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, no regrets. I would do everything. It's like, no, of course. Hindsight's 2020. Like, there's so many things I would have like. We basically had to learn the hard way, and it's like, okay, I would go back and just not do that thing, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, eventually get to the choice that we made. So yeah, I feel like if I was starting today, I would get to like the point I'm at now so much faster
Mm-hmm.
and just have a lot more clarity around what we need to do, particularly for TripSuite. It took a while to kind of figure out like what is the feature set and where exactly are we going to play and who's our ideal customer, all these things that as a startup you're figuring out. And now I feel like we have extreme clarity, but it just took a lot of trial and error to get there. And so I would definitely go back and like skip all of that, skip right to where we are now. That would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be really hard. What is a destination that is still on your list that you've yet to hit?
I mean, so
I guess a
many.
top one. Okay, give me. As I asked, I was like, "Oh no, there's probably
So
20."
many, so
Give me
many.
like a top 2 or a top 3.
Yes. I really want to go to Oman right now. That's super high on my list. Um, Zambia is super high on my list, and I'll say Peru. I've actually never been to Peru still, so that's all.
Surprising.
Yeah, that's all definitely high on the list right now.
I feel like I've seen you spend most of your time between Asia and Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite places to travel
Okay.
is Asia and Africa.
Do you speak any other languages?
No, I used to be conversational Mandarin, but that was 10 years ago and a lot of it's gone. I think if I went back and spent like a month, I could probably pick it back up, but as of right now, no plans
Yeah. Okay, that's
to
great.
do that.
I guess the next plan for you is backpacking South America a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely need to spend more time in South America, particularly because I think we forget living in the US, like it's actually pretty easy and accessible.
It's so close
Yeah. It seems
in the
far,
grand
but
scheme.
like it's a long flight, but then time zone's the same. It's just like such an easy transition.
Yep.
And so I definitely want to spend more time there. Yeah.
I think okay, so this is kind of an issue for me, and I wonder if it's an issue for you. I feel like just in general, we're in a world of options, dating, food, career choices,
Mhm.
now with travel choices. Do you feel like it's
Yeah.
all become like, are you bogged down by the options?
I'm not, but part of it's because in my mind I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get to all of them eventually," if that makes sense.
Y-
So I'm not stressing about the decision I'm making right this second.
Yeah,
So, particularly for travel, because I wanna go to every country, it's like, "Oh, well, the next one's just the next one, but I'm gonna get to that other one too." And
true.
so I think it definitely takes some of the pressure off.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of when, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, same thing with food. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we'll end up at that restaurant." Naturally, never does, but in my head, I'm like,
No.
"We're good, we're good."
Like
We'll
living in
get to all of it.
places, it's like living in New York for 5 years. There's so many things. I only went to my
Yeah.
first Yankees game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What? I was there for 5 years and never
I
went to a Yankees
know.
game. Mets, but
You have to have people come visit you, I feel like, to be a tourist in the city that you're living
yeah,
in. That's that is, like, the only time I did any of the stuff that you're supposed to do, otherwise, it's
pretty
just,
much.
going out to eat, hanging out with friends, going to bars, it's just, like, you could do that in any city, basically.
But I love equal parts both. Like I love being a tourist in my own city, but I also love just doing the bananas. And I would love when friends would come visit me and we would just do that. Like we would just go to my favorite bars, which are just dives, and walk around the neighborhood. Maybe we'd walk the bridge. Maybe. That's
Mhm.
about it.
'Cause you want them to get an authentic experience too, like, not Times Square. You
No.
want to say, like, "This is how people actually live, and I want you to experience that.
Yeah.
But then I do think it's a good excuse to say like, "Oh yeah, we should go to the museum and we
Yeah.
should go to a show and do all these things that we're supposed to do."
I never go to Times Square unless I need to. Granted, I was there more often for
Yeah.
like acting things, but like when I was there last week, I had a friend who was there for a premiere, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in Times Square," and I just thought, I asked him, I was like, "Why are you in what?
Yeah.
What would ever take you there?" And then he explained. I was like, "Okay, this makes sense."
Yes. No, you don't realize New Yorkers have like intense hatred for Times Square.
It's like a panic attack just in a pocket. I'm like,
I
"Get
know.
it."
It's so hard though as somebody that loves Broadway shows. You just have to, but
Suck it up.
I'll literally triangulate my path there as a way to like go like I like get off the train somewhere out and then like cut in versus
Yeah,
getting off at Times Square, for
make the walk
instance.
a little longer is worth it.
Yeah.
With that, I still have a goal to walk from the top of Manhattan to the bottom of Manhattan.
Yes.
I've never done it.
I've seen those videos. It's like it doesn't seem that bad.
No, I mean, just need really good shoes,
Yes. Good shoes.
a lot of water, and a
And you can
nice,
take
nice
breaks
weather.
too. And you
Yeah.
just like can chill out at a cafe for a little bit and then keep going. Yeah. That's on my list too. Let's do it together.
We do. Okay, we'll have to plan this. I'm like mentally preparing for like my body to be exhausted, which is like so lame.
You're in really good shape too. I'm like I should like actually work out ahead of this because I'm in the worst shape of my life right now.
But is it crazy that I feel like it will be? When I thought about doing the Grand Canyon, I was like, fine. But thinking about walking from the top of Manhattan to the bottom of Manhattan,
It's somehow worse than the Grand
somehow-
Canyon.
it seems more
No.
daunting. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think maybe because
It
it's
might
just
be a
like
longer
flat
distance.
out, and it's definitely longer. But then I think not having to go uphill
Makes a big difference.
makes a huge difference. Yeah.
When you're traveling, are you an outdoorsy person or are you an experienced person? Like, what kind of travel are you? Just does it depend on where you're at?
Yeah, I would say it depends on where you're at because obviously my passion is safari and that's outside all day long, but you're also sitting. So I joke that it's like my favorite trip because it's the most adventurous you can be while sitting.
That's a
So
tagline.
I was like, it's perfect. Perfect for me. Just because I'm not like I don't like being super active.
Mhm.
If there's like a really cool hike where it's like this view's amazing, like
Mhm.
da 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 da, I'm like, okay, if there's a place to get to at the end of the hike, I'm down. But like hiking the hike is just not my
Yeah.
jam.
Wait, you did Patagonia.
Yeah, but that's very much like one I like almost died. But so I again was also still out of shape
How
at the
did
time, and
you
I was
almost
actually in better
die?
shape than I am now. But no, I just like was unprepared. So I had
Okay.
like new shoes that of course I got blisters. I was just like the mess. Like I was that tourist person that's not prepared. So there's definitely some prep that needs to go into Patagonia that I did not do because I basically got invited to go with some friends and it was like in a week and I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And so I just like bought a bunch of stuff and showed up, like didn't test any of it. So that's not what you should do, people. You should do some research and some prep ahead of time and break in the shoes. I think breaking in the shoes is key. So I think I just went and got a jacket and shoes there and they were just like North Face branded shoes. Yeah.
Good friends to have to just be like, hey, we're going to Patagonia.
Yeah. And that was an amazing trip. Like have you been to Patagonia? You would love it. It's like so up your alley. And also there, I think you can go particularly in the Chilean kind of, I think they call it the W trek.
Mhm.
It's not expensive either. Like it's very much like a backpackery. Like you can do it for not that much. Obviously it costs a lot to get there, but then once you're there, I think you can yeah. Honestly, Argentina is amazing. Yeah, once you're there.
Yeah.
You can literally get like a gigantic steak and an amazing bottle of red wine and like the whole dinner is like $20. It's
I
crazy.
want it.
Yeah.
I thought about going there in January and then so I was going to do, have you heard of Wi-Fi Tribe?
No.
So it's kind of like, there's a bunch of them. There's like Remote Year and it's just groups of people who work remotely that go on these trips together. Exactly. Wi-Fi Tribe had a trip to Buenos Aires, but I chose against it because one, I was just home with family. And then two, it seemed like it was more city vibes. And then there was like a co-working Patagonia space. I know they have so many cool trips. I'll send it to you. It looks
Yeah.
awesome.
Are they like more for people in their 20s though? I feel like I've aged out of these.
So I asked them this because you have to interview to become a member. You have to interview and all these things. And then you have membership tiers as far as how much you're paying for the trip. And I feel like the fee that you pay for the month is it's cheaper than if you were to live in New York, honestly. Because I think that for the Argentina one, it was like $1,400 for the month. That included your room and board and some other things. I'm like, that's cheaper than New York.
Yeah.
So I asked them about the ages, and it seems like it's 25 to like 35. Some people are in
Okay.
their 40s. So
Yeah.
on that cusp.
Yeah.
Going back to every country in the world, what do you have a tally? What number are you at?
I just went to 56.
Okay.
So I want to get to 100 before I'm 40. I feel like that. Because I thought, like, naturally, I think as you get older, you slow down a bit too. And so
Yeah,
I want to try to push harder.
that's doable.
Yeah. And then, yeah, just try to continue to make progress. And
Well, there's some places where you can go to a country and you probably go to 2 countries in a day, 3 countries maybe, if you try really
I
hard.
try to like actually visit the place, but there have been a few that are day trips, like Luxembourg. It's like, okay, I don't need to spend the
Yeah.
entire weekend here. I can go for a day. But in general, I try to actually experience the place that I'm in. So at least a weekend I try for.
So you're not one of those like, were you ever one of those people that's like, let me see how many places, how many things I can do at once? Or have you always been very intentional with?
I've tried to be more intentional just because it's honestly, it's not like for any sort of external validation, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm just trying to get this thing checked off so that I can get this thing so other people know I did this. It's more intrinsic of like, I want to experience the world,
Yep.
basically. And so, but in order to do that, like, I actually have to, I have to visit and I have to understand this
Yeah,
country. It's not just a check mark, right?
exactly.
So, and I think too, what I've realized as I've gone along is some of my favorite places I've ever been are places like people haven't even heard of or would never even consider going. And to be honest, the only reason I went is because I was like, I need to go to this place to check it off. And then I end up there. I'm like, whoa, this place is amazing. Like, this is such a cool like destination. I just have these incredible experiences. But I never would have gotten out of that comfort zone or like gone to this place
Yeah.
unless I was doing like I had this other goal,
Hmm.
right? And so I think too, it's like in that I don't know if a country is gonna be like that until I show up, but if it is, then I want to actually experience it. I wanna
Yeah.
be there.
What's one of those countries?
Have you heard of Sao Tome?
Say it again.
Sao Tome? Sao Tome
No.
and Principe? It's a tiny island off the coast of Africa. It's an old Portuguese colony, and I was there for a week and just had the best time, and they get hardly any tourists. It's like one of those places that's very, like just very interesting because it was an old Portuguese colony, so they have a lot of kind of the culture
Yeah.
of they have, like, espressos and things like that, but you're in Africa, and there's, you know, these gorgeous beaches and rainforests and things like that, and so it's just, like, a very interesting combination of things and interesting history. But, yeah, it's like, I never would have booked that trip unless I was like, "Oh, well, I have to go check this place off."
Yeah. What's a piece of advice that you would give somebody, whether it's relationship, food, travel, career? What's one juicy general piece of advice, if you want, that you would give to listeners?
Yeah. Okay. I think, this is less a piece of advice and more like a mantra that I've had that I think has been really helpful for me, particularly as if you're pivoting or going into kind of a new time of your life. And actually, a college professor had kind of said this to me and it just like really stuck with me. And it's basically this phrase, which is you are what you are becoming. And it's very much like, okay, I want to be healthier, I want to be fit, all of this stuff. And if you're not there in a certain amount of time, you get really frustrated. I think it's like, hey, when you're working towards something, you are that thing. And so very much feel that way about like being an entrepreneur and skill sets and things of like, oh, I need to get better at this. It's like, okay, well, I'm getting better at it every day. And just remembering like you are what you're becoming. I'm like, okay, we're getting there. We're working towards it, and, like, that's kind of enough.
I love that. Thank you. That's something like I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I've heard things similar, but that's really well said.
For sure.
What is a song you have on repeat right now?
Ooh, okay. Have you heard of this 5th grader in Japan who composed songs, who's this musical prodigy?
No.
Okay. I stumbled on these videos on TikTok, but there is a 5th grader who just started kind of composing music, like, on the computer for fun,
Oh,
and one of her songs went super viral on TikTok 'cause it's, like, just so amazing and, like, catchy and fun, and I've just been listening to that because she finally put it on Spotify.
great. Okay, well, you'll have to send me her because now I wanna listen to it.
Yes, it's super fun, so and she just came out with, like, an EP, so I've been listening to that.
Fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much for coming today. This was really fun and I learned way more than I expected.
Thank you so much for having me, this was fun.
Yeah, thanks.